It looks like I'm invisible here.
You have a halo.
Oh, it's the wonderful sunset behind me. Like, all right.
Yeah, I'm a little side lit also. A little on them. It happens.
That's why I signed on, see if I could, what kind of trouble I'd have.
Hi, Tessa.
Good evening.
Hi, Mary.
Hello. You look good today.
Thanks.
Are you all back to normal yet?
No, but I can do this.
That's a start.
And I'm driving again, so hallelujah.
A little more freedom.
Yes. But I can't garden.
Oh, that's a bummer because I'm excited. I've been doing that recently.
Well, I've been trying to do it with my left hand, but it's a little bit of a struggle. But that's how I injured my shoulder in the first place, so I need to behave.
Yikes. So Is this the meeting that Robin said she couldn't be at? I thought it was the second meeting in April. Does anyone remember?
I think it was the second meeting too. She, as far as I know, she didn't say anything about not being here tomorrow, which was yesterday when she said that at the site visits.
Gotcha. Well, we do have quorum with 3 out of 4, so.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll just wait till 7 to get started.
Hi, Dawn.
There she.
Liam, I don't know if you saw that. I think I sent you an email, but I can now do site visits.
Oh, I don't think I did see that. That's great.
So
I just overheard you're driving again too.
Yeah, I can do site visits, and I can do site visits for the ANRADs.
Great. Oh, so you got permission to walk Coles Land?
Yeah, I'm no longer trespassed.
Great. Congratulations on that.
Wow. That's awesome.
All right, so it is 7 o'clock. So let's go ahead and open the meeting. And let's start with the statement from Tessa. I almost forgot.
Following the governor's restrictions on public meetings, this meeting is being held virtually using zoom.com for remote participation only. The public may access it following the instructions on this meeting's agenda posted on the town calendar. If, despite our best efforts, we are not able to provide real-time access, the public can request a recording of this meeting by contacting the town clerk.
All right. So, did folks have a chance to consider the minutes from the March 25th meeting?
I did, and I just caught a couple of what looked like autocorrect things that were probably out of her hands. But other than that, they look fine.
Yeah, there was a typo. I can find it.
On page 1, where we're talking about reviewing the previous minutes, at 7:09, says Cregan moves and Harrington sections a motion instead of seconds. I'm attributing to autocorrect. And the only other one was on the 3rd page, where it says site visit scheduling. It says the following site visits were schedules instead of scheduled. But that was it.
Thank you.
So on page 3,
Yeah.
31 Lakeview Road, it's applicability. There's an I missing.
Thank you.
Oh, I missed that one.
Well, thank you, both of you, for close reading. I really appreciate it.
No, but the facts, the info was great.
Agreed. So I'll go ahead and make a motion that we accept the minutes as amended.
I second the motion that we accept the minutes as amended.
Okay. Roll call vote. David.
Aye.
DeFont.
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
And Cregan, aye. I suppose this is a good moment to pause and just say, or I wanted to ask if there was a select board meeting and was Don appointed.
I have not heard anything from the select board.
There's been a couple select board meetings, but they've been really focused select board meetings. So there really wasn't time on the agenda to talk about my appointment.
Okay.
Well, I'm trying to think, have we met since there was that big discussion? I can't remember, Don, where there was a big discussion about it.
No, this is probably the first Concom meeting
That's
since
what I think.
then. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a discussion a couple of weeks ago. Mary was there and I was there, and there was quite a bit of discussion, and they decided not to vote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we talked about that at the 25th meeting.
And did we? Well, I think maybe there's been some discussion since then, though. I feel like there was another.
Well, thank you for coming, Don, and I'm hoping that you can be appointed soon. I just felt weird. I was like, oh wait, is Don voting or not? So that's where I was at.
I'm sorry. I really wanted to go on your site visits too. They looked like really good ones, especially whenever they rebuild a wall down to lake. That's like a learning experience. You get down there and you see what people do to fix the problem from wave action erosion, and then you can tell other people about it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
cool.
I'm watching.
Well, great. Sounds good.
Yeah, I meant to reach out specifically to select board, but I hadn't seen an email, so I assumed that it hadn't been addressed yet.
Okay, sounds good. I assumed as much too, but I just wanted to double check before we went through another vote.
Yeah, I did send that. If you might recall, if you read the minutes recently enough, that they've been requested that I send out an email showing the select board the vote, which I did do. So they have that email from me where I sent the minutes that recorded the vote. So.
Cool, sounds good. So let's move on to site visit follow-up and scheduling. I suppose we should start with the follow-up, or should we start with the scheduling? It looks like the scheduling might be first here on the list. Is 5 Cove Road, that didn't happen yet, correct?
That was,
Yeah.
Mary went to that. That was the day after the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Mary, do you want to report out on that one?
Yeah, basically, it's really close to the not the lake, but the offshoot from the lake, but the tree is dead. It needs to come down. They're going to try to take it down without knocking down the tree that's really very close to it. But whatever comes down, they will clean up. You know, they're committed to cleaning up and doing the best they can not to get any of the debris actually into the lake, but it is really close, but it's dead. It's got to come down.
Okay.
I did send the paper into tech.
I don't know.
Oh, you cut out for a second there, Mary.
I did send my form in.
Great. I must have it's been a couple weeks, so sorry, I forgot.
Well, I think I'm missing everybody because I just changed my email. So hopefully I'll get it right this time. So I did send everybody that too, just
I
today.
want to thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm inspired. I'm going to use yours as a model for mine that I will set up tomorrow.
I'm working on it. Now I just need to figure out how to make Google Mail work.
Oh, it's pretty easy.
All right. 32 Lake Drive. Robin and I were at this one.
Right.
And we just looked at the erosion control, and it was in places shown on the plan. So we told them work could proceed.
Yep. I find it very useful to go on site visits, like when they're proposing a project, and then we're saying this, you need erosion control, et cetera, and then, you know, the same people go back and can see. I don't know, it's very useful for me to have been there the time before to then go and look at this.
I would agree. Yeah. This was a project that I think was proposed sometime last year. I think I was still fairly new to the commission when it was proposed. So
yes,
it was cool to see.
It was a long zoning board process.
Okay.
That's why it took this long.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the retreat center tree cutting. Robin, do you want to take this one?
I could, or you could. I have a lot to say on the other one.
Okay, yeah, I'll take the retreat center cutting then. They're hoping to take down 4 trees that are really close to an isolated wetland, which I believe is probably less than 1,000 square feet from what I saw. So I'm not sure if it even falls under the bylaw jurisdiction. But either way, a couple of years ago, Barry and Russ, former commissioners, had already been out to the site and approved tree cutting in this area. And so there are 4 more trees that are, well, so they say there's 3 that are definitely coming down. There is a hemlock tree and 2 red oaks that are dead. And then there's another red oak that is, they're not really sure about right now, but we said that if they need to take it down, they can take it down too, just to leave the stumps in. And their main concern is it's close to a number of buildings on the property.
Yep.
And then I think they're planning to plant some saplings at some point. They're looking into a couple wet trees that like wet feet, and I'm not sure when they're planting, but I told them to get in touch with us just because they're going to do so in the wetland, it seems like.
Yeah, and one thing we noticed is there had been some cutting before and they did a good job and left the stumps, and there was a lot of natural regen happening. So I think that the site is going to be perfectly fine when they take it down.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. All right, on to the 12 Wyola Drive Certificate of Compliance. Robin and I were at this one. Do you want to start, Robin?
Sure. The idea was they had put in this retaining wall and were given several conditions that had to be met before they could get their certificate of compliance. And one of these was planting shrubs along the edge. And Liam sent some photos so you can see the top of the wall and the edge of the property. And he pretty much refuses. I don't want to plant shrubs. I need this space.
Was this the project with the stone walls where the guy was going to do the retaining wall?
No. It's a wooden wall, retaining wall.
Okay, I saw the pictures.
And it's in place.
Right.
And he's just waiting for his certificate of compliance, saying he met all the conditions to be able to do this. And one of the conditions was that, and this happened before I joined, was that he plant shrubs right along the edge, which is often what we ask, or some kind of vegetation. Mm-hmm. And he outright refused. And his reasons, this is what is like mind-boggling. He says he needs that area clear because that's where he puts his kayak in and out. And I'm thinking, you're 5 feet above the lake. The lake's only a foot high there, and you have a dock, and the dock has staircases that go down into the water all the way, so that you're standing on the bottom because it's only this deep. And I'm thinking, you put your kayak over the edge? Yeah, and I have grandkids and they play right down there. And if there are shrubs, I can't see them. And I'm like, you could take one of those multiple chairs on your property and put it on the deck and watch your grandkids. And then his last argument, I just want to get all three out there and then we can talk about them. His third one was, well, and besides, the shrub roots would destabilize the wall. And I didn't think of this at the time, so I didn't say anything, but I'm like, it's not destabilizing the wall as much as you putting a kayak over, which I doubt he's doing. I'm sure he's using the dock. He's just trying to come up with excuses to not have to plant anything there. I was just like, I found it mind-boggling. I don't know about you, Liam. I was just like, and then the clincher was, well, I could plant shrubs, so you would come back and give me my certificate, but then you would come back 6 months later and they'd be gone. I'm telling you that right now.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah, he was fairly confrontational, and I think Tessa told me that might be the case when we went. And so just another tidbit of information that I found out when after the fact was that in the order of conditions, there actually wasn't a specified type of vegetation that was to be planted. Essentially what it was asking for was vegetation to be planted as shown on the plan. And the plan itself had what looked like daisies to me drawn along the bank. So in some senses, the order of conditions wasn't really written very well. So I think what he got, and it sounds like what was talked about was shrubs, but was actually shown on the plan was a sketch that looked like daisies and nothing in the order of conditions that really asked for shrubs. So, and if we're talking about bank stabilization, shrubs aren't necessary. Well, shrubs with no wall would stabilize the bank. In this case, the wall is stabilizing the bank more than shrubs that if you planted shrubs, it wouldn't stabilize the bank more. So in some ways, I'm thinking we should just issue the certificate because I don't really know if this is the battle we want to fight.
Could we just somehow say you have to use your dock to put things in and out of the lake? I mean, I'm sure that's what he's doing.
Right.
Like, he couldn't possibly want to throw things off a 5-foot drop, but anyway. But I agree. He's got grass going all the way up to.
So there is some vegetation.
Yeah, there's grass all the way to the wall.
Okay.
And there's no signs of erosion along the wall at all. Yeah. The wall seems great.
Yeah.
So in that sense, the wall is doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And the order was issued in 2018. So it's been 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So if there were issues, you likely would see them if there'd been erosion.
Right.
Don, you were going to say something here.
It's just that this happens a lot down at the lake. People don't want to replenish the brush at the edge of the shoreline because they want a beach. They want, a clear, open beach. And it's been really difficult, for years to get people to agree to replanting those areas. So, you lose this one, maybe you'll win the next one.
And he doesn't want a beach. I mean, because there's a 5-foot drop off his wall. He already doesn't have beach on his property. So
this is a tough one.
Yeah. I think that it sounds like before there was beach, and I think there was bank erosion, and that's why the wall project came up. So yeah, it's stabilizing the bank to protect his property. I don't really think shrubs are going to improve water quality. or stabilize the bank in this case. So even though in some senses it seems like we're kind of backing down, I think it might make more sense just to issue the certificate. And hopefully the next landowner that comes along with a project like this is more open-minded. I know like the one that we did a couple weeks ago for the wall on the other side of the lake, they are really into native plants. So I don't think it's necessarily going to have this domino effect of residents saying, oh, well, Francis Merrigan got away with it, so I can get away with it too.
Well, can we require him to plant daisies?
That would be nice. He would probably like that. But I think in this case, it might just be a little too intense of a thing to harp on, just given the interaction we had.
You could issue a partial certificate of compliance for everything except the shrubs. I don't know if he'd like that or not, but
Janice.
No.
Yeah.
And there's no shrub. Technically, it's not shrubs based on the paperwork.
I don't think it's worth. Well, so technically, he does have something. He's got grass there. I don't think it's worth making an issue of it.
Right, and I'm working on the assumption that he actually is using the dock and not stressing the wall, dumping his kayak in and pulling it out 5 feet when he's got a dock with stairs that go down to the water. I'm assuming he's using the dock.
Probably.
Or makes a condition that you're not putting things over the edge. You're sort of just leaving it be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I agree with Liam.
Well, it'll help us write out better paperwork in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely shows you how you need to think about the wording of the order of conditions.
Yeah.
So sounds like, do we need to take a vote about issuing a certificate?
Yeah, that would be,
imagine
and I
so.
have the paperwork drafted, so I can screen share it.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and make a motion that we issue a certificate of compliance for 12 Wyola Drive.
I second the motion that we issue the certificate of compliance for 12 Wyola.
And you
All
may
right.
have to specify that it's a complete, you're issuing a complete, because there's 3 options. Would it help if I
Okay.
screen shared it? So, because there's,
Yeah, it
Janice
would.
was
I
referencing.
think this is only the second one I've been involved in.
Yeah. Janice was referencing the fact that there is an incomplete option, but I don't know that that would be helpful in this circumstance. Sorry.
Well, what would happen if it was incomplete?
It doesn't get it off the deed. It doesn't get it off. Oh.
Yeah, I don't think it's a hill to die on.
So
Yeah.
it is a complete certificate of compliance, Tessa?
Yeah, let me I almost have it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Can you see that? Is it good size, or should I increase the size? Would that help?
No, that's all right.
I can see it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So the options are here. The options. So complete certificate is hereby certified that the work regulated by the above referenced order of conditions has been satisfactorily completed. Partial certification. But only the following portions of the work. Invalid, never commenced, or ongoing.
Okay.
I believe I've done one where you can hit complete certificate and ongoing conditions. But.
Well, could we say he has to maintain some vegetation there?
As in lawn, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be nice. I mean, he's probably planning to do that anyway. So we can issue a complete certificate, which releases it from the deed. But then we can also specify that we want veg to be there, and that's part of releasing it from the deed.
Yeah, let me grab the order. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out which number reference. Yeah, so I'm reading over the special conditions and it makes reference to the plan, which, as Liam said, has this marking that vegetation is going to go next to the wall, but it doesn't really get into it in the special conditions. So I think it would just be that we could write something here about vegetation, like grass is maintained along the.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Lawn is maintained. What does the commission want?
Lawn. Well, I guess we could just say vegetation up to the wall must be present, something like that.
Okay.
Must remain present.
Prevent erosion, or do you not even want to?
Stabilization.
I don't know if we need to get into why.
Okay. Okay.
Do we?
Currently lawn. Currently vegetation is
Grass.
Sounds good.
Or should it be like vegetation, grass accepted? I don't know, grass including grass.
Just leave it.
I think it's okay.
Okay. Okay. And then I would mail it out, and here are your signatures.
Okay, great. Should we take a vote on it with the wording?
Yes. Thank you.
I move that we accept the certificate of completion as worded.
Liam Cregan seconds that. All right, roll call vote. David?
Aye.
DeFont?
Aye.
Harrington?
Aye.
And Cregan, aye. Alrighty. Okay, so the 115 Pratt Corner Road building permit application. Did that happen yet?
I don't recall that one.
Is that a new one? That's near my house.
That's your house?
I said it's right near my house.
Oh.
Not my house.
Let me see. It's been a while since that came in, so now I'm blanking on what that one was.
115.
So it was, let me see. Sorry about that. I was preparing other things. So yeah, I sent it out April 1st. The garage is not attached to the house. The property does not have mapped wetlands and is not natural heritage areas.
Oh yeah, I remember talking about this garage.
I don't know if that's true that there's no wetlands.
Mapped. I haven't been there.
Yeah.
None mapped on Master yet.
Because like my house is one entire wetland. They're just down the road from me. I'm trying to remember who that is. Who's the landowner?
Laura and Scott Labonte.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yep. Well, their lawn.
Yeah, it looks like now that I found this email, it looks like we could have probably made this happen on yesterday.
Yeah, that I think that was the idea, and then I didn't remind you.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's okay. Yeah, my bad. I was in the area for Pratt South. It would have been pretty easy.
I think that's what we talked about it, and then because it wasn't in my notes from the minutes because it came in after, I forgot to remind everybody.
So I guess we'll need to schedule this one. So
Miriam, do you feel like you could? Can you walk there, or I mean,
yeah,
I guess
I can do it. No, I can do it. Yep.
Okay.
Would you like someone else to join you for it?
Sure.
I think that's generally what we shoot for.
That particular neighbor.
Okay, so
depending on the date, so.
If we could do sometime around 5 or 5:30, I could do next Tuesday.
On the 13th.
Yeah, the 13th.
I think there may be, I don't know if there's a select board meeting that night. That might run into the select board meeting. Is there a select board meeting? Do you know, Tessa?
Let me pull up the calendar. I had it.
The 28th.
The next select board meeting is the 28th, Don?
28th, yeah.
Okay. So
so they probably are all right for the 6th, 13th. Yeah, so do that. So what, 5:30 you're saying?
Yeah, I think 5:30 would be my preference.
Okay.
I'm going to re-forward that email as soon as Liam found it, but that has the contact information for the landowner.
I can just, it might make sense just for my organizational purposes to email them right now.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Well,
I'll copy you, Miriam, and you, Tessa.
Okay.
Labonte's place is real easy, Miriam. It's
I know.
Just that one area by the driveway.
Yeah, I know where it is. Yeah. Well, once we get our act together to submit for a building permit, you guys can come over to my house for a site visit.
Cool.
Wine and cheese?
Sure.
I was just going to say something like that.
We've been procrastinating on our addition, so we need to do it.
But you've got all those peepers in the front yard.
We do. I want to, here's a question. Well, Janice is there. Can you certify a vernal pool if it has an outlet?
I think I learned that you can in Massachusetts from what I heard, because we saw some vernal pool habitat on some of the ANRAD site visits. And I think in Massachusetts, all that really needs to happen, or basically predators shouldn't be able to get into the pool. So predators of obligate vernal pool species shouldn't be able to get into the pool. And that's the best explanation I have right now. I'm sure Janice could do much better.
I can do better than that, actually. This is Maria.
Okay.
Hi, Maria.
So technically speaking, Massachusetts requires that there's no inlet or outlet.
That's what I thought.
The Army Corps does not. So you could certify a pool under one and not the other, technically, because they have slightly different criteria.
Will it show up on the maps, the state maps then, if it's under Army Corps? It wouldn't. It would be a suspected vernal pool then.
I think that depending on how it gets certified, the maps that the state puts out, I'm not sure if they pull in information from the Army Corps or not. But okay. I mean, they do work with the Army Corps.
But for the state, you have, if there's an outlet, no.
I don't know if that's absolutely critical or not. I mean, as long as you have the necessary biological features, like the number of wood frog egg masses or salamander egg masses, and it isn't, I don't know if it needs a permanent inlet and outlet or something, but I think majority is if you've got the vernal pool species, the obligate vernal pool species, I think it's worth trying to certify. And I don't think they'd knock it out just for having an outlet.
Okay. I mean, if it doesn't have if it only has one and not the other, then they might look at it a little differently. But if it has both, then it doesn't meet the state criteria.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I did send the email. So I suppose we should move on to the the peer review and rad visits, Pratt South and lot H151. I went to the Pratt South visit yesterday with Maria and Emily. And for the most part, the wetland boundaries were flagged quite well. And there are going to be some expansions. And so there's going to be 2 visits at Pratt South. Yesterday was focused more on the bordering vegetated wetland. And the next visit is going to be focused more on the streams that run through the property. So we walked all the wetland boundaries. We did not walk all the stream flags. And I think for the most part, the revisions were made in the field by Maria because there weren't a lot of them. Although Maria, you might be able to speak better to that than me.
We adjusted about 10 flags on the entire site. But yeah, I did make all of the adjustments relative to wetlands. There are, as you said, adjustments that are going to need to be made to the stream, but we're sorting that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and part of that came down to TRC not being told by Coles that the access road they were going to be using is right along a riverfront area stream, and the perennial stream that's mapped on the site itself meets up with that other perennial stream. So they're going to need to flag further downstream towards the access road.
Or we're going to have to do something.
Yeah.
The part of the access road is not on Coles owned land. So that's part of the complication that we're working out. It is all clearly within riverfront area though, because of where Dean Brook flows. So we'll discuss that when we get there. I don't have a whole lot more updates on that right now. The other thing that was brought up during the site walk, Liam, was researching recent national grid delineations.
Yeah. So
there's one that's within 3 years, because if there is, then we need to revert to those flags, even though what we flagged in the field is extremely similar to the old flags that are hanging in that portion of the property.
I was the one that performed those delineations for National Grid with the National Grid forester.
Do you remember what year that was, Don?
Was 2019.
Okay. Was there an ANRAD for that?
No, it was a utility right-of-way clearing.
Was there any kind of permit for it? Because it only reverts if there's a permit.
It wasn't like the one that you're looking at now for the power lines. This one was only focused on the 5 to 10 feet by the side of Pratt Corner Road. And then there was some delineations that were done just outside of that because they trimmed 30 feet on the side, either side of Pratt Corner Road.
So those might be different delineations than the ones that we looked at, because I think these are about a half mile uphill from Pratt Corner Road into the utility row. So I'm wondering.
So was this on National Grid's property, utilities land, or?
It's the easement that runs through. So National Grid might own some of it, or it might just be an easement going through, depending on which property it is along the right of way.
National Grid has separate records for the power lines ones than the ones done on the roads. You'd have to contact
them. Okay, yeah, these delineations were on the power line cut, but they were on Cole's land, I believe. So I think it sounds like we're gonna need to check if there was an ANRAD for those delineations, then yeah, what Maria is saying is we'll need to defer to those if they're not expired. And then I guess the other interesting thing is we saw wood frog eggs in the power line cut. And then we also saw wood frog eggs, a lot more wood frog eggs and some spotted salamander eggs in another wetland on the property. So we should be putting that in our ORAD when that happens.
Was it the one on the property, was it in a 1,000-foot plus isolated wetland, or is it smaller than that?
Oh, it was bigger. It's one of the larger mapped wetlands they would fall under the Wetlands Protection Act.
Oh, okay.
Too. But it would just be worth noting in the ORAD, and we took some pictures. It's just exciting. It's that kind of year.
Yeah, Emily recommended that it be part of the findings page.
And then, so then the H151 delineations, I'm not exactly sure when Emily first went out, but she went out again yesterday.
On the 31st. So I went out on the 31st with Dan, Mark, and the landowner, and not DEP. And Emily on the 31st. And then Emily and Dan were back out yesterday, which I did not go. The issue was, the reason why they had to go back today was that when they went out on the 31st, the surveyor was supposed to flag both sides of the wetlands, and they only flagged one side. So Emily could only review one side. So it was fortunate that she was coming back. It was able to fit both of them in yesterday so that she didn't have to add extra travel time. So I haven't heard back about how it went yesterday. So I'm not sure where Emily's at with it. But I guess we'll see if Dan shows up this evening. But we did find an isolated wetland on the 31st that had not been mapped. So Dan flagged it while we were out there, and he was gonna let the surveyors know that it was there.
Cool. Was that greater than 1,000 square feet, do you think?
Yeah, that's why it was flagged. So there was a few of them, which apparently they're man-made. Dan said that we're collecting asbestos out of the soil. And so, but in Massachusetts, I guess it doesn't matter that they were man-made.
They were collecting asbestos?
Yeah, I guess can naturally occur in soil. Like, it was not a man-made asbestos, it was naturally occurring in the soil, and so it was excavated.
Oh.
So there was these.
They were
series
collecting
of-
it because they wanted to use it for something, or
extract it,
to
yeah,
take it away for
I think there's
safety.
a way to extract it, I guess,
Oh.
from the soil.
Wow.
So there's a series of these depressions. We only, on the property, it looked like there was ones over the other side of the property too. There only was one that met the 1,000 foot.
I've never heard of that.
Me neither. That's what Dan said. He wasn't aware of the bylaw, the 1,000 foot isolated bylaw. So flagged.
All right. So I guess we'll move on to new items and updates, of which we have one, and that is our tree cutting policy.
Yeah, there was going to be one person from the public who was going to come, but she's not here yet. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Should we maybe move on to some of the other topics to give her a chance to show up?
Sure.
Okay. So Esri mapping software.
I have not done anything.
Okay. That way. I
Okay.
just put on there in case there was an
So
update.
I will try to move along with that.
Just put on just in case. So
Yeah, thank you.
All right. ANRAD guidelines and policies.
Did we ever go over the thing I mailed out?
We
Can't
did.
remember.
I think I remember having some thoughts about it. I think part of it was, I want to find what you sent out.
It was a few weeks ago.
Was there anything in the minutes about that? I'm trying to remember. There was a reason why I decided to not make a decision right then and there. I can't remember what it was.
So, I do remember, I just found it. I'll forward the email to everybody.
Oh, it was way March 11th.
Yeah.
Yep. There it is.
So I think one of the reasons I think we talked about scale, map scale, requiring map scale,
right.
which
Yep.
was one, and maybe we shouldn't have that there. And then I know we did talk about the contour lines, and I think I checked some of the other plans, and I do think they were 2 foot contours.
Yeah.
Although now I can't remember again because that's how it goes.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, sorry.
Yeah. So did we ever make a decision about what we thought instead of the scale, or just leave it, not have it?
I was thinking just not have it, because the scale will vary greatly depending on the size of the parcel that's being delineated.
Yeah.
I was looking at the notice of intent instruction, and on page 5, I think it is, they have, required information under plans. They have a sheet size, maximum 24 by 36, and then a scale not more than 1 inch equals 50 feet. If plans are reduced, display graphical scales. And then it has a little bit about title blocks and stuff too. So I wasn't sure, what sort of size to suggest for scale, but that's in the NOI instructions.
Okay, so that's about paper size, and if the papers are smaller, you want to make sure the scale's better.
Yeah, and it says if the maximum 24 by 36 inch, if more than one sheet is required to describe the proposed work, provide an additional sheet indexing all other sheets and showing a general composite of all work proposed within the buffer zone and areas subject to protection under the Act. So, I mean, that seems pretty good. And maybe you could even just reference that or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good, referencing that.
Because that's in the NOI. That's not.
Yes, true. You're right.
So it certainly is what TRC has been doing.
Yes,
it is.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
except in the original ANRAD, for the early ones, they had aerial views without topography.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just referring to the indexing part that they've been doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I guess the other part of this that I wasn't so sure about was the flagging. I mean, I agree with the sentiment that there should be clear consecutively numbered flagging. But I was wondering about the refreshing of the flagging before the close of the hearing, if we need to do that, and if we should rather just in the ORAD require that if a project is to come before any board in town, that the flagging needs to, or if a project is to happen on this property, that the flags need to be refreshed then. And I think what we talked about is wondering whether or not that would hold weight if the project didn't go through the Concom again.
Janice, do you know?
I'm not sure. I always like to see things sort of finalized, you know, before you issue the permit, just because it could be a couple years before people come back to things, and it could be different people on the commission and someone won't know anymore and that sort of thing. I don't know how you get around that.
Right. Yeah, well, I guess because this has been happening in the field with these less major revisions. So I guess it probably it doesn't, I don't think it actually hurts to have it in here, because in the case of like a Baker Road situation, we would want that reflagged and shown it before the public hearing was closed, which I believe is what happened, because they went out and reflagged the site and then that was shown on the plan. So I guess, I mean, the more I'm thinking about this, the less I'm worried that it's too much to ask.
I think on the last one, I can't remember which one that was. It was just to have it refreshed before construction, like before an NOI happened.
But if there isn't an NOI.
Yeah, because when I had putting it more generically, and then I sent that draft to Emily Stockman, she put in reference to an NOI, which kind of made me think from her perspective, she didn't think we could do it regardless of whether an NOI.
We can't mandate it for something that isn't going to come back before the Concom.
I didn't have that I didn't ask her directly, but that she did change the language of the finding from what I had, which was more generic to having it contingent on the intent. Yeah.
But you will have the revised plan, right? That is what you'll approve with the NRAD, and in the end, people would have to refer to that if they started up with any new project.
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. All the revision, the ORAD includes all the revision dates and including the final one and the findings reference the last.
And maybe that's okay, as long as you've got that, because most people are going to start with that when they come back with a project rather than start in the field.
Well, do you want to alter this perhaps to say that any refreshing needs to happen before they come back for an NOI, if they are coming back for an NOI?
That seems to make sense. They're ready to start it.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That sounds good. And so we'll change that in 4, and then remove the scale, and then maybe refer to this NOI requirement that Janice mentioned as a separate point for kind of just requiring how the maps and plans should look.
Yeah. Well, and did we decide about the date, how much in advance of the public hearing documents have to be submitted? Because I think you've been going on, what, a week?
Correct. Yeah, I think we've been doing 7 calendar days, and this changes it to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 10 is fine. Gives everyone a good chance to take a look at things before the meeting.
Yeah, more time is a little better.
That way it includes a weekend, and if you have a holiday and everything, it still gives you a little more time than just the 7 days would.
Right.
A lot of commissions require 2 weeks, in my experience.
Mm.
10 seems okay to me.
You can do whatever you want. I just don't want you all to feel bad if you want more time.
Right.
Thanks, Maria.
Thank you. I think 10 would work for me. Yeah, just having it that a guaranteed weekend. Okay, so Miriam, are you open to making those changes and then sending it to the commission?
Yeah. Well, let me make sure I'm clear. So for the ANRAD, number 1, we want to reference the map details. How do I want to say map details?
In the NOI instructions, something like
Should
that.
be consistent with the NOI instructions. Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. All right, and the rest of it will keep in. That paragraph stays the same about the 2-foot contours and the features. And then data forms before the closing of the public hearing. Yes, no, maybe. We were saying that was okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then 10 days, and then refreshed flagging required. So do we just want to remove all this about the clear consecutively numbered flagging? I think it still has to be consecutive, even if you're inserting numbers, right?
Yeah, I think that's...
Sorry, go ahead, Chair.
I was just going to say, it's nice to have that sentiment in there.
And
so,
Miriam, I would take me a moment to find it, but I could send you the last findings, like because there was a very similar finding that we had with the last ORAD.
Okay, all right. Well, then if you send it to me, then I'll just tweak this and send it for the next meeting. But Maria knows all of it anyway, right? So you got it all.
I try.
Yeah, you have a lot going on, Maria. I find that out more and more. Okay, so wetland bylaw and regulations discussion.
It was more of a put on there to schedule a separate, to see if the commission wanted to schedule a separate meeting. So
Will we do that?
So what we did last time, which I was going to recap, is that, and Janice Stone very kindly, so Janice Stone guided us through each section of the regulations, is what happened last time. And we didn't really look at the bylaw itself. We went through the regulations. And there was mostly, I feel like it was just a walkthrough. It wasn't whether commentary on whether any changes.
I don't have my notes, but I kind of thought we had sort of decided the wetland bylaw was working pretty well, but we may want to tweak regulations. Is that
right?
Not...
Yes.
That's policy. I think Janice took us through the bylaw, and then we kind of compared it to the draft that Robin and I prepared based on the 2011 draft. And essentially what we decided is the changes might not be worth bringing to town meeting because we might risk losing the good things in the bylaw as it stands. So maybe we can try to improve some of the oddities, I guess, that we identified in the bylaw. That I think one of them has to do with mailing. That's the one that I remember the best right now. But so it sounds like maybe we would want to schedule another discussion where we talk about how to make improvements to the bylaw via the regulations.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah, just to see if we can tweak the regulations to work better for what you want or see as problems.
Mm-hmm. That sounds good. As long as you come, Janice.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really great.
Yes, I appreciated being schooled. I knew we needed it.
No,
That's
because
good.
most people don't take the time to read that sort of stuff unless they really have to.
So I don't know when a good time would be to do that.
Next winter.
Next winter.
Well, we're only meeting once a month.
after the ANRADs are done. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Things are getting really busy with me in the 9 to 5 world. So 2 meetings a month is already enough for me, I feel.
Right.
That's fine. I just put on there for in case.
Why don't we just table it until we're a little farther through all these ANRADs?
That
sounds good. Okay, so I'm wondering if we should talk about the tree cutting policy. I thought I saw there might be an email from that neighbor saying she couldn't be there today, right?
One neighbor wrote back and said she couldn't. The other said she would be there, but I don't see her. So I would table it for a next meeting.
What was the issue?
So it was concern raised by 2 residents of Lake Wyola seeing tree cutting around the lake, that they wanted clarification on the Conservation Commission's policy. And actually Liam talked to DAP to help get clarification on what the policy should be. So
yeah, so I talked to Mark Stinson today, briefly about how we've been doing things, which is essentially kind of a handshake agreement saying leave the stump in and be safe, because that's what had been done. And I told him that, and he said maybe we should reconsider doing it that way. He said if homeowners are going to cut a tree and use it on the property, then that's a minor exemption if they're cutting in the buffer zone. So for example, if they're cutting down a tree that is a hazard tree and then cutting it up into firewood, or he said even making seats out of it or something like that, then that's a minor exempt activity. And then the only other way that they could do it without filing paperwork from his perspective was if it was a hazard tree, and a town official says something saying it can be taken down under an emergency permit. And he said, other than that, we should reconsider to having RDAs for tree cutting.
You mean we should have RDAs?
Yeah, that we should have a paper trail essentially for some tree cuttings that we've been.
Okay. Well.
So, and this kind of came to light just because we had some concerned residents who were surprised about our policy, and I think Leverett has also been. You've been thinking about it for Leverett as well, Tessa.
Yeah.
And what was the concern?
They just wanted to know if the trees that they were seeing cut around the lake had been permitted.
If we were doing it right.
Mainly if people asked us, I think that was the first question. And then the second question was, what's the process? What's the procedure? So it is 8 o'clock now though. So let's quickly open the public hearing for the ANRAD at lot ZD37, the Montague Carver project. Because we are still waiting on some delineation paperwork and for Emily to go out another time. This is going to be continued to another date. And I think Maria has a proposed date in mind.
Yes, I emailed Tessa earlier today and asked if we could be on the June 10th meeting.
Nothing is currently scheduled on that day.
All right, well, sounds good to me. Wondering if we should do 8 o'clock again, or if we should do 7:30. If something smaller comes up, it might be worth getting that done at 7:30. So I think maybe 8 o'clock would be for the best.
Okay.
Okay, so June 10th at 8 o'clock. I'll go ahead and move that we continue the public hearing for the ANRAD at ZD 37 to 8 o'clock p.m. on June 10th, 2021.
I second the motion.
All right, David?
Aye.
DeFont?
Aye.
Harrington?
Aye.
And Cregan, aye.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure thing.
I a few minutes ago sent out the updated plans for the Leverett Road site. So we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So what do folks think about what Mark Stinson said about tree cutting?
I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
It's just kind of interesting that, well, yeah, somebody can cut a tree and use it on their own property, but if it gets removed, it needs to be permitted. Just kind of one of those weird catch-22 feeling things to me about the law, but it might be smart to follow the state law. So I think we should probably.
That's what the state law actually is.
Yeah. The state regulations for the Wetlands Protection Act.
Hmm.
That it's an RDA.
Well, not that it's an RDA, but essentially that it's not a minor exempt activity if they're taking the tree off the property. So for that reason, we should be requiring some sort of paperwork, is kind of what he was saying. And it sounds like verbal confirmation that folks are planning to keep a tree on the property is enough. So I guess we'll just, maybe Tessa, you can ask if people get in touch with you, you could ask what their intent with the tree is.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can kind of find out from there.
But then it would be an RDA if they're not going to be using the wood.
Yeah. So that could kind of expedite the process of whether or not they need to do one.
But then everybody's just going to say I'm using the wood.
I guess you're right.
You know,
Yeah, I know. I mean, I hear you. That's kind of why I'm like, I don't even know if we should be.
I think that's why the concern. Living out here, I can tell you people have been cutting down trees without asking. And I think that's there's a lot more people, I think, concerned about people taking down trees without going through the process, and not out here.
It could be in the next newsletter. It could be an article.
So maybe it's not our job to tell them what a minor exemption is. They can figure that out. Just require an RDA, and that they look at the regulations.
I mean, if it's outside of the 100 feet, then
I didn't think that there was a minor exempt activity for tree cutting.
Pruning, they can prune the trees. So yeah, when I talked to DEP about it, he's like, they could cut every single limb off the tree and leave it standing.
Hurting or killing the tree, though. I think there's something somewhere that says.
All right, well, I need to read it because he was like, they can cut it down, they can do whatever they want with it, it just has to be on the property. So I think maybe we should look into it ourselves too.
I think that,
but it sounds like, Mary, you're more on the side of, if it's in the 100 feet of the lake, we should be requiring an RDA.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah. I mean, that could be a lot more clean than trying to explain the law to people every time.
The difference, I'm sorry, I raised my hand. So the difference is if you're removing trees along the embankment, that's different than, say, maintenance of removing trees near a driveway or in the yard, in the lawn. And there's a big difference between removing dead trees and I really don't agree with Mark Stinson when I've talked to him about this, about pruning up hemlock trees, essentially killing them. When hemlock trees really determine temperature and evaporation, you can completely disappear a vernal pool by removing all the branches of the hemlocks that surround it.
Mm.
So that's an isolated wetland. Is it a 1,000 square foot one? Well, so whenever I cross this problem, I always defer them to the Concom.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there should be an RDA.
Yeah, I mean, it will give us more of a chance to scrutinize exactly what's going to happen.
And the minor exempt activity for pruning, it's for vista pruning, but it has to be more than 50 feet from the bank of the water or wetland, I believe, as well. So it's not carte blanche. Anyway, I know it means it's going to be more paperwork for you guys, but sooner or later, someone's going to get mad about a tree that comes down, and then it may look bad on you not to have required a filing. Let's say it's a really big tree and it's right near the water's edge. You know, like,
yeah,
right.
I think you could be right. And RDAs are not too difficult to get through.
The timing, the only thing is what I learned this year is that they have to be issued within 15 days. So unless you have permission from the applicant to extend that. So it does mean more meetings if they don't line up.
I thought it was 21 days. It's 21 days.
It's 15 days that you have to issue. I'm pretty sure it's 15 days. I'll double check on that.
Yeah, I've never heard the 15.
I'll double check on that, but I know that an RDA has to get, it's not issuing it. It's not like a notice of intent where you have 21 days after the hearing closes to issue it. It's that you have to issue it within the set amount of time. Either it might be 21 days. I'll double check that, but whatever it is, it's not, you don't have the hearing plus the 21 days. It's just that set amount of time to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm looking at the minor exempt activities now too. And yeah, I don't know what Mark was telling me, but it's not here.
About keeping it on the property. It's not there.
Yeah, I think what he's doing is he's sort of incorporating the definition of agriculture, and under agriculture is forestry, and it allows cutting of trees for your own use on your property. And I think that's the way he's described it.
Yeah, he did talk about agriculture, actually. He said the word agriculture once.
It's the definition.
he's basically saying that someone cutting one tree on their property could qualify as agriculture if they're going to use it for firewood.
Yeah, if you're using it for your own personal use and it's under a certain number of cords of wood and there's some other things, it's all in the agriculture forestry definition.
Okay. So yeah, that doesn't sound like it'll apply in a lot of cases around the lake with one tree or two trees.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we should require RDAs for recutting 100 feet of the lake.
I do think we should require RDAs.
Yeah. Is that what you do in Hadley, Janice?
We don't get too many requests for that, actually. So we used to in South Hadley, we would. I mean, you know, if it's really just a sapling, we, you know, weren't going to make a big deal out of it. But if it's most of the time people wanted a mature tree cut for one reason or another, it would have to, I think we still required a request for determination if it was a large mature tree and it was in the 100-foot buffer.
Okay.
But sometimes other towns do other things. I know that there were some things from the MSMCP, Tessa, that had stuff on tree cutting and applications and stuff like that. I don't know if you have access to that, or I can try to track some stuff down.
I have access to the handbook, so I can check it.
Yeah. But if Mark suggests that, that's probably a good idea.
Okay. Yeah. So
did we close the public hearing?
For Montague Carver, and there's another one There's the other 805 one, which we never opened. So maybe we should do that.
Did we have to vote to continue it? I don't remember.
Yes, we
We
do.
voted.
Okay. Oh,
we voted, right? For Montague Carter.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But yeah, we do need to.
So they're not here for the other one?
Yeah, I thought that Dan was going to attend tonight and give us an update, but he's not here. And I haven't gotten anything recently.
So I guess let's just quickly open the public hearing for the ANRAD at lot H151, the Whiteman parcel. And it sounds like he said he might send some stuff, right?
He did, yeah. So I just rechecked my email, and 42 minutes ago, he did ask to be on the next April meeting. So
okay.
So we have, I know we have an ANRAD for Coles at 7:30. So it would have to be a different time than that.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be, is that going to be the Leverett West one?
I had it open.
Because if so, that'll be a slog.
Right. Let me get it.
I think.
So the next one is the Leverett West, which since we did get the revisions, that will be complicated.
Mm-hmm.
So
this one, I mean, this one will also, it'll be less complicated, but it's still a full ANRAD that we're going to be issuing, right?
Yes.
How many flags at this parcel?
Since I wasn't out yesterday, there were 8 around, I think there was about 6 or 8 around the isolated wetlands. And then the other wetland's pretty large. So I think it was at least in the 20s. Because some of them were dead, because I think it went up to 16 and they added some, so it might be somewhere in the range of 40, 50 flags.
Okay. I'm having trouble feeling like we could do 2 ANRADs in one meeting. So I'm wondering, I mean, we could try. I just think it'll take till 10 p.m. or later would be my guess. And I don't know if we want to do that.
Yeah, the changes aren't as complicated for I don't think the revisions are that complicated for what's happening out at the one. I don't think it's going to be that different besides adding the isolated wetlands. I don't think it's going to,
and Leverett West itself is also a lot more simple than Baker Road, which was the last one we did.
We also can say that if we don't get them within 10 days, I guess I can share that information which I don't know when they'd have to send it to us to get it before the next, pretty soon, I think.
Did we get a report from Emily on that?
So it was just an email, and I didn't forward it because it only makes sense, I think, if you're looking at the revised plans. That's why I didn't think it. I mean, I'm happy to forward it. I can forward it. I just thought it would make more sense once we had the revision.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
It's a set of like 5 comments or something like that.
Okay.
Just about a few flags that were removed. It's not as complicated, this one.
Yeah, and one of the bigger changes is there's a perennial stream to the north of the parcel, which had a big braid that kind of got incorporated into the mean annual high water mark. So that was a lot closer to the property line than they originally thought. So that was the big change, is reflagging this stream that's off property, but the riverfront area projects into the property. But I guess I'm still thinking, like, if we were going to schedule it for that meeting, which I think is April 22nd, we would probably want to do it at like 8:45 or
here comes Dan.
Oh.
It's connecting.
Yeah. Hello, Dan.
Hello, folks. I was just checking to see if, Tessa, did you get my email to continue the meeting?
Yes, we were just discussing that and whether, so there already is there's going to be a Coles and Rad at 7:30 on April 22nd. And so we were just discussing whether we could fit both in there and how quick, it would be good to know if you had a sense how quickly you would be getting the plans to us, the revision.
We'll definitely have them before the next meeting. I mean, how many days in advance would you guys like those? And then I can check with the surveyor to see if that's a doable schedule.
We usually, we just talked about this today, and we like 10 or more days before the meeting.
Oh, okay. Even though Emily is the one who's going to be doing the review, does she need, I mean, that's what I'm sort of wondering. If you guys are going to rely on her review, sorry. There, sorry about that. Okay, whatever you folks want to do. I think let me get back to this surveyor. I mean, it's 14 days from now, correct, to the next meeting?
Mm-hmm.
So if we can get it to you in 4 days, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's in over the weekend too. So that's just what we talked about for ANRAD policies that we have going forward now. We're going to try to stick to those. Okay.
If we get them to you on Monday, is that, you said it's over the weekend because 4 more days. Yes, what is that, Sunday? No, that'd be Monday, right? 4 days.
I think Monday would be the day that we'd want them by.
Okay. Well, I'll check in tomorrow and find out about that.
Sounds good.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't think so.
So I guess we will schedule it for...
We can fit it in on that day.
So we'll schedule it for the 22nd for now. Is that what would make sense, or?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So this still, I think, leaves me where we were, which is, when do we want to do it in relation to the Coles ANRAD?
And they're scheduled at 7:30.
Yeah, the Coles is. Like an hour, like 8:30 maybe. I just want to make sure there's time to get through Emily's comments. And in the past, that's taken more than an hour. That's the only reason why. And those were more complicated sites as far as the revisions went.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if an hour would be reasonable for this site. Does that sound good to folks?
Either 8:30 or 8:45.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and then the other thing is, if we do both that night, we'll end up going late. So I just want to make sure that's okay with everybody. I know it's not ideal.
I don't love it.
I'm going to miss that meeting. So it's all right with me.
Okay. Let's go with 8:30.
Good.
Okay, so I will make a motion that we continue the public hearing for the ANRAD at lot H151 until 8:30 p.m. on April 22nd, 2021.
A second.
All right, roll call vote. David?
Aye.
DeFont?
Aye.
Harrington?
Aye.
And Cregan? Aye. Okay, so I would say that's all we have for tonight.
Yes, I think because no one showed up, there's 2 concerned citizens. I will put the tree cutting on the agenda for April 22nd, if that's okay with the commission, or because we don't ANRAD, so much ANRADs too. Would you prefer I say the first one in May instead?
Well, we'll probably end up having the site visit follow up for 115 Pratt Corner Road, and not much else on the agenda. Is that right? I
think so. Yeah, nothing.
So maybe if you could have it on the next agenda, and we could talk about it at 7:10 or something like that after we do the minutes.
Okay.
And I have one item I'd like to discuss after you guys are done with the other stuff.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for tonight if you want to share.
Okay. The only thing is I wanted to let people know, I don't know how much you looked at the MACC annual environmental conference, but this Saturday they have 2 sessions that I think may be very pertinent for you guys. It's from 9 to 10 and then another from 10:45 to 11:45. The first one is Municipal Planning and Permitting for Solar Projects, Part A, Updates on Mass Solar Policy Model Bylaws and Community Planning Session. And then the Part B is Municipal Planning and Permitting for Solar Projects, Part B, Best Practices for Design and Construction of Solar Arrays. So it might be worth at least some of you attending those. I think it's $25 a la carte if you want just one workshop. I'm not sure, it's something like that. I signed up for a bunch of them, but and I'm pretty sure that one of the people who's doing this is Zara.
Yeah, my sister.
She is amazing, and she is just fantastic. So well worth hearing her discussions. And the other thing is, like, I missed one today because it was just too beautiful out. But usually they let you listen. You know, then if you signed up for it, then you can watch it later. So it's
okay. That was what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
So
It's going to be recorded.
Yeah, they usually are, and then they give you a chance to watch it again later.
So that's MACC.
Yes.
Part of the conference, and that their Wetland Protection Act funds can go to reimbursing commission members.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I think it'd be a really good one for, you know, where you're about to be really soon.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think I'm gonna probably sign up and not go on Saturday morning and then watch it sometime next week.
Yeah, so you can just maybe email them even just to be sure, or, you know, but that's the way it's been for all the others. So
okay.
Someone did ask at an early, so I signed up for a few different workshops, and someone did ask that question if the one that they were at was being recorded, and
the a la carte workshops. Okay.
Yeah. And they said yes, Tessa?
Yeah, they said yes. I don't know where to find them, or if they do, just email it out if you've signed up. But they did say that should be possible. So I would see if you don't see it, Liam, then I would email Joey.
Okay, sounds good.
On Saturday the 10th.
Yes.
The municipal planning.
10:45.
And then, cool.
Do you want A and B?
I got A and B.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one my sister is doing.
Looks like it's A.
Definitely.
Okay, well, with that, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we close the meeting at 8:25.
Early.
Yeah. Well, it's to make up for what's going to follow.
Without Robin to help us through. There a second?
Sorry, I second motion to adjourn the meeting.
All right, roll call vote. David.
Aye.
DeFont.
Aye.
Harrington.
Aye.
And Cregan. Aye.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. Good night. Thank you.
Night, everyone.